For those of you who might know me in a different context, you might wonder why I actually speak in English because it's not my mother tongue. And this is very interesting. I elaborated on it already like for years, since I grew up bilingual and I'm a polyglot, so I speak a lot of different languages. And I realized, and maybe you do too, that speaking a different language, I kind of have a different personality. And to say it in extreme. However, it's like some things are easier to express, at least for me, in a different language. And a lot of inner work that I did, like with working with healing facilitators in memberships and groups, has been in English. So I actually got more comfortable to express my feelings and be vulnerable in English language. I still I cannot tell because I'm not really... There's few people that I am vulnerable with in German, for example, and I guess no one that I'm vulnerable in Russian, which would be my mother tongue. But yeah, it makes total sense because at least this is a conclusion that I came to a few years ago, because we have learned these languages in different contexts, right? And so, for example, English, I have learned in a classroom. And so in a classroom, the words you learn have a completely different energetic charge, I'd say, than when you learn them at home, within a relationship, within certain experiences, right? And depending also like the environment you grew up with and how like the language that was used, the things that the communication, right? The form of communication, the things that were said as well are connected with emotions, right? And it's a little different when you learn something in the classroom. And as well, like for me, for example, Spanish, which I learned much later, and also especially while traveling, again, it has been charged emotionally with the experience that I had there. And while traveling, I had a lot of beautiful experiences, right? So for me, like also in Spanish, I don't know, people can say things to me in Spanish. If they would say the same thing in German, I would be like, feel very uncomfortable. But in Spanish, I don't have a problem. And probably that's why, because I've learned this language, or practiced this language in different contexts. And interacting with people who are really kind, who are really connected to, and had really good experiences as well. Maybe you know too, like while traveling, I felt more free to be myself. And this is actually where I realized that there's a lot more or different to me than I have known before. Because like growing up in an environment, it's always like we are part of the environment. We are kind of a puzzle piece of the whole puzzle. And while being out of it, it's easier to act differently, to be differently, you're perceived differently. At least this is what I experienced also in a working context. And so this is like while traveling, also in working context, like going out there studying and meeting new people. And everyone experiences this, right? That you discover different sides of yourself. This is where I kind of started my self-discovery journey, to find out, okay, well, what's more? What's in there? What's more? And like, who else is in there? And maybe what is in there what I didn't know about. And so talking about language, it's interesting that, and maybe you experience this too, that in a different language, you feel more comfortable expressing certain things, and especially being vulnerable or talking about certain topics. And as well, of course, this energy work I have done mostly in English. Like I actually only have one. Now, of course not. I have like a lot of different therapies and like, on different fields. However, the work that I do, that I'm certified myself with, like the compassion key, as well as the belief code that I'm training in now, is both as well. I'm training in English language. So for me, it's like the easiest to also give session in English language. Of course, I can translate, and I do. Like I already did session also in German, so this would be a problem. Like I wouldn't do it in Spanish or Russian so far. Like I don't know, maybe one day. But however, this is interesting. So for me, it grew naturally that I positioned myself in English language. And yeah, here I am.